Well, hey there. You've stumbled upon the intersection of internet quandaries and psychological insight. Welcome to Veritas Views on AITA, where the quirks of the internet meet the expertise of Veritas Psychology Partners.
Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Michael MacBride. I'm joined by our dynamic duo of psychologists.
I'm Dr. Gayle MacBride, and with us today is Dr. Daniel Kessler. Welcome to the podcast once again, Dan.
Yeah, welcome. This is our opportunity each week to discuss what the wonders of the internet bring us and bring it together with our psychology practices. And I'm looking forward to hearing what Michael's brought us this week. Michael, you always have such interesting stuff for us.
Thanks. Yeah, I do my best. Welcome, both of you. And for any of the newbies out there, if Dan's description didn't do it for you, and you don't know what am I the asshole is, in short, somebody on the internet has posted a scenario and said, this is how it went down. Who's the asshole here? And that's what Doctors MacBride and Kessler will hopefully help us determine.
Wonderful. Hey, before we go any further, can I interject?
Of course.
Listening to my favorite podcast, Veritas Views, AITA edition, yesterday. And I listened back an episode that we had discussed, and I couldn't tell you the episode number, sorry guys, but link in the show notes, about the parent who made pancakes for their child. Said parent then had morning sickness. Do you remember this one, Dan? And didn't make pancakes for the niece. Is this?
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Okay. We missed something, I
did.
think. Yeah, and I don't want to spend maybe a lot of time on it, or maybe it's a bonus conversation. I don't know. We missed in our discussion the fact that the second parent, so the pregnant parent was up, made pancakes for the kiddo. The
Right.
second parent of that said child was awake, and we let the dad off the hook completely. I
No.
listened back and I was like, how did we not jump on dad for like not getting in there and helping out? We got a preggo wife who's making pancakes and a niece who's crying.
We missed that.
We missed that.
We missed.
We were assholes, Dan. We were assholes. Oh.
Yeah, we were. We totally missed that. Michael, will you put a link in the show notes? I'm going to re-listen to that episode as well from that link, because we missed.
Unlike us. Yeah, we sort of glossed over this yada yada detail that husband was awake but doesn't eat pancakes, so he didn't participate. Fuck that. You don't eat pancakes, don't care. Make the pancakes for the children.
Knows how to make a. It's not a complicated task.
It's not complicated. It's not complicated, and he didn't pitch up. I am disappointed in him.
I'm very disappointed. So we're gonna like retroactively.
Yeah, call him an asshole.
Right.
I like it. I'll be sure to link there in the notes. And you're right.
So-
Now that I'm playing it back in my mind, I do remember that aspect. But
All right.
in the moment, it was easy to pounce on the focus topic of that. So
Yes. So we're going to retroactively apply the asshole title, but I want to listen to it first. Well, no, let's go ahead and put it on there. We'll make
You're
a
just
snap.
gonna take my word for it. Thanks.
I'm going to take your word for it. All right. Husband's an asshole.
Okay.
Great.
All right,
All right,
we can
Michael.
progress with this episode. I just wanted to quick call back because I was remembering that I had listened to it. I had some quiet time yesterday.
Oh, excellent.
sure. Well, we got a fresh one today. So this is what we got. Am I the asshole for texting at 7:13 a.m.?
Maybe.
That is hyper specific. As if you'd not be the asshole at 7:14.
Well, it's hyper specific and yet overly vague, because something absolutely mission critical. No, but like, hey, have a good day. Maybe.
Right. Or
No,
if you know your recipient is awake. I've been known to text certain business partners fairly early in the morning because I know you're up.
I'm up. But how I have a thought, Dr. MacBride.
Yes.
Perhaps we should hear the fact pattern.
What? All right.
All right.
What
Michael.
I loved about this one is that sometimes the headlines give away more, or they're clickbaity. Like this one, it felt so open-ended. It's like, what are the circumstances? So I had to read it, which is, this is the rest of it. I have a neighbor with a daughter a similar age to mine, but we have never really hung out with them. On a rainy morning, I thought I would reach out to the dad to see if they might want to have a play date. My text essentially said, the weather looks so bad, we're thinking about heading to the trampoline park in the late morning in case you're interested in joining. His exact reply is, this text at 7:13 a.m. on a weekend morning with zero previous context has gotten you blocked. Invasions of boundaries, 100%. And he really blocked me. This man has never been super friendly, but seems otherwise like a relatively normal human being. Am I the asshole here? Is there a certain designated time before we should or should not be texting each other?
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. I have a thought. It looked like you. Okay.
No, go, please go. I have lots of thoughts, but
All right.
time.
So first off, let's not answer her. I'm going to not answer her question. I'm going to start off by saying, dude, there are ways of addressing one's neighbor who has annoyed you. Going off on them and blocking them because they sent you a text message at 7:13, like whether she is out of line or not, he has overreacted. And there's a 3-step concept we've talked about before that we'll get to later, I think.
Quick interjection. They're both males. So two male instead of she, but not that it really matters, I think, in the scenario, but just so you know.
You know what? I made like this gender assumption based on like, because it's usually my wife who arranges play dates. I feel really bad about that heterosexist language. My apologies. Yeah, would you save me by jumping and talking for a little bit since I just screwed up from the get-go?
Am I the asshole for assuming heteronormative gender role stereotypes?
Did you as well?
No, I was saying that's going to be our next episode. Am I the asshole for?
It is. Am I the asshole for?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. This neighbor has overreacted. I mean, I get it. I wouldn't want a 7 a.m. text on a weekend morning. Not really. Not even from you, Dan. Unless, again, it was mission critical. This was not mission critical because this plan was later in the day, later in the morning, and it certainly could have been sent an hour to an hour and a half later and probably been fine. So I think it's an overreaction, but I think the complaint is valid.
Yeah.
But the way the neighbor has responded with criticism and contempt, I'm going to pull out the 4 horsemen from Gottman here because it's so great. This is not just for romantic relationship communication.
No, it's not.
Good stuff for all communication. So this criticism and this contempt were unwarranted and unproductive.
Yeah. What I always ask people to do, and this works for anxiety and panic attack, this also works for relationship stuff and anger. Step 1, is the thing a thing? Like, did this person do something wrong that you think they did wrong? Okay, we're going to say it's because if they didn't really do anything wrong, then you're going to like, you know what, I'm getting mad for no good reason. So we're going to agree that she shouldn't have texted, or he shouldn't have texted it. Oh my gosh, that he shouldn't have texted at 7:13 a.m. The next step, though, is what is the level of insult here? And is my response consistent with that level of insult? So I'm going to call this like, out of a scale of 0 to 10, I'm going to call, or 1 to 10, I'm going to call this like a 4. Texting at 7:13 a.m. I'm going to call it a 4 maybe a 3 out of 10. A 4. You're giving me a funny look. So
a 4 seems
3 or 4 out of 10. But I'm going to call the neighbor's response like a 9. So
or more. I mean, he would put the nuclear option, block.
Yeah.
Dude, this is your fucking neighbor. You're going to have to look at him again. And your kids are clearly friends. This is going to be a problem. This was after the nuclear option.
Yeah. So he's gone. So yes, he has and sometimes this is a mistake we make all too often in relationships. And I want to pull this into all relationships. I have reason to be upset with my partner or my spouse or my friend or my sister, brother, parent, whatever. I have reason to be upset with them. Therefore, all of my reactions are justified. And that's where people get into problems.
Right.
Like you can
justify this bad behavior.
Right. The fact that the OP here did something they shouldn't have done, that I'm going to call it 3 or 4, I don't know where you want to get, doesn't mean that the next door neighbor gets to go nuclear on them.
Yeah.
Like, to justify it. We do this all the time in our relationships. We're like, I have reason to be upset with my wife or husband or friend or whatever because they did this thing. But like my anger or frustration is far exceeds what is reasonable.
And actually, what troubles me even more in my office is then it's often used as a justification for that bad behavior. You violated my boundaries, and therefore I get the right to be brutally honest with you. And I just don't think that that is productive. I think we need to, and I hate to say it, I know we sound like broken records, assume positive intent here. This person wasn't trying to fuck up your Sunday morning.
Right.
They were trying to help entertain your kid for the day. This is barely a 3 in terms of offense.
Okay, so you're calling it what? Like a
2.75. I don't know.
Right, so you're lower than I am. Yeah, I mean,
I am. The more I think about it, the lower it is, simply because they jump the gun on something, but ultimately for the good, which is to entertain 2 kids in an active, non-screen time kind of way. And I'm doing you the solid. I assume, offering not only a plan, but to take your child, supervise your child. You might even get a quiet house for the day. And that's how you're going to respond? I don't think so.
I'll tell you something. You accidentally.
Michael's dying over there. He's off camera, but he is dying.
I tell you, you accidentally text me at 5 a.m. because you're not paying attention, and you wake me up with this message. I'm like, and then it's a text message. You have the right to respond at your leisure. So if you don't want to respond till 9 a.m., fine. I don't hear OP throwing down like, you got to get back to me by 8:16 to let me know because I got to buy tickets. But who knows? I mean, maybe that's how the trampoline park works. You got to get in and you got to get that admission. I don't know, especially on a rainy day. Yes, unless the trampoline park required it's going to sell out by 8.
Right.
Unless that's the situation, he should have waited. He really should have looked at us. Oh, you know what? I think I'm going to go with 8 o'clock is a reasonable time to text. What do you think? What is the reasonable time to text on the weekend?
I mean, this is hard. Young kids tend to wake up early. We could do a whole discussion about morningness and morning lark, kind of qualities to younger children. And if you have younger children, you probably need to be awake to supervise said younger children. So you're probably up around 7. I mean, gosh, my kids used to get up at 5:30 on the weekend. I hated it. I know. And they were ready for the day. So some planning had to happen. So you text me at 7:13 in the morning and I'd have been fine. Now less so, but 8 o'clock is fine because now I'm a grown-ass adult and I had this sort of morningness to my day. I prefer to be up and working, but that's me. And I recognize that other people, on the weekends like to sleep in till 9-10 o'clock. From a sleep perspective, I don't think that's a good idea unless that aligns with your job. But people do it anyway because what do I know?
I know from working with you for years now. I can text you on the weekdays at around 6:30 probably, although you're probably up at 6 or
sometimes earlier. If I'm coming into the office, yeah,
certainly text you by 6. And on the weekends, I probably would wait until 8. Yeah. Now, but if I was texting my next door neighbor here, who's I would probably text them for this kind of a thing at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
I've seen him up and around, Yeah. Now when he cut his lawn at 7:30, that was out of line.
That was out of line. Not asshole.
If you're listening, it's not you. I'm talking about some other neighbor. If you're listening, it's not you. Yeah.
I think the part here for me is that text message response is optional. And if you don't want to receive a text message, silence your phone. Turn it off. There are many things you can do because you cannot control when a text message comes in. And most of us see a text as it is optional, respond when you're able. If I call you, you're going to be like, oh shit, something's going down. I need to answer this call, right? So.
No, I think I mean, to answer OP's question, am I the asshole for texting? You're not an asshole. You probably should have waited. If you could have waited till 8 or even 8:30, it's probably more respectful to wait a little bit. But are you an asshole?
47 to 48 minutes there.
No, you're not an asshole. Now the neighbor's reaction, that was complete dickishness. Yeah. That was just I like what neighbor needs to do right now is wander back over and say, dude, I had a really late night last night and I woke up this morning and I was a total asshole to you. Ooh. Like I really fucked up and I am so sorry I sent you that message. I am unblocking you. I hope you'll forgive my dickish. Like he should completely and entirely fall on his sword at this point if he's going to try to save this relationship.
I agree. Absolutely. If for no other reason, those kids are going to play together, and you're going to live next door to this person.
This is time that if he has a partner, his partner should be telling him, like, go over there and absolutely completely throw yourself on his mercy and say you are a complete dickhead, because anything short of that is going to be really hard to. And most people forgive you. That's most of the time people forgive you. You come like, I was an ass. Like, I am so embarrassed by my behavior there. It is a good move in this case. I think.
Yeah. Solid move. I absolutely agree. I think the neighbor was being an ass. So yeah.
I'm not even willing to call OP mildly dickish. I think OP should have made a better choice and should have waited. But there's no
right. I mean, the designations, right? You're the asshole. You're not the asshole. Everybody sucks here. That kind of thing. I don't think OP even sucks. I think they made a misstep, but I understand where that misstep comes from, especially if you don't know the sleep-wake patterns of your neighbor. It should have waited till 8, but that doesn't make you sucky. That just
I mean,
probably anxious, like, oh, I really want to make sure I got a plan. I don't want to disappoint my kid. I don't want to tell them the wrong thing. If I can get an answer, that'd be great.
I read this social media post about these neighbors that were feuding over a fence line being like 6 inches on the wrong side. And someone popped in and said, yeah, this happened to me. I went to my neighbor. I'm like, oh, dude, I just found out from a survey that I'm 9 inches into your yard with the fence. And he looked at me and went, huh, 9 inches less to cut. You watching the game today?
That's a great response. I wish I would have had that response when we had a property line dispute.
And like, this is the sort of thing that could have happened here. Like, dude, it's 7:13. Oh shit, my bad. Should I wait? When's a good time for me to reach out to you? I'm a late sleeper on the weekends. Can you wait till after 9? Oh, absolutely. Totally wait till after 9. Totally my bad. I'm sorry. Oh no, it's cool. It's cool. Hey, let's see about the kids getting together, go to the trampoline park. Like, that's the way this should have gone down.
100%. I have no arguments, no exceptions. I like it.
So OP asshole, but probably maybe was a little like check your watch, maybe think about it. And the next door neighbor's a total asshole.
Yeah.
All right. We render our verdict, Michael. What does the internet say?
Excellent. Well, first, I want to say I'm totally on OP side here as the early
Michael
riser.
Would be the dad.
I like having a plan, and as you can attest to, like, sometimes I'm up at 2 or 4 o'clock in the morning and I'll send a message, but I do not expect a response right then.
Wait, Michael, are you secretly OP here?
Never in his life has he really volunteered to watch somebody else's kid at a trampoline park. I know my husband, that wouldn't happen. I mean, you'd watch our kids, but anyway.
Especially not a stranger that I didn't know very well. But anyway, the internet really fell down 2 paths, which are essentially you're not the asshole was the majority, and then some people said everybody sucks here / gentle everybody sucks here. And essentially, I mean, there are a lot of the things that you guys said, which is, really, you're not the asshole. He should have his notifications set to his preferences. You don't know when he wakes up. You don't know enough about him to that. And then some people kind of got an argument like, well, you need to form that relationship better. You need to make those connections and figure out like how communication works between you and whatever. Then you had the everybody sucks, which is you should have waited. And he should not have overreacted that way. Like, his overreaction was completely unwarranted. I think my favorite one was this one, which said, if I get notifications when I'd rather be sleeping that wake me up, that's on me for leaving my sound on, which is a bizarre choice in this day and age. I don't understand this guy's situation. Texts are not instant communication. You can wait to respond to one. Whether they're emails or text messages or whatever. If you had called before 9 a.m., that might have been rude. But, a text message, they can choose to respond to at their leisure. And then this part, which I know you guys love boundaries, so I thought I'd throw this in there, which was, it's only a boundary when you make it clear in advance. Otherwise, it's, hey, just so you know for next time, please don't call me before blah, 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 blah. And then establish that boundary. So
please don't. I'm still going to call that a request and not a boundary. A boundary is I don't respond to a text at 7:13 in the morning. I don't answer my phone before 8 a.m.
You are correct.
That's a boundary. Boundaries are in your control. A request is what you make of other people. Hey, Dan, don't text me before 8 a.m. on a weekend is a request.
All right. I won't text tomorrow morning. Well, it's a weekday. Right.
So then the other thing the internet fell down arguing about was when is an appropriate time to wake up? And, it was, or to be called, I should say, 7 a.m., 8 a.m., 9 a.m. And there was an interesting conversation, which you guys kind of got into, which is younger children, you're up anyway. Like, what's the big deal? If you're up at 7, messaging at 7 is fine. If you want to make a plan, that's great. Text messaging feels like a safe, indirect way to get a response when that person is ready. In general, it seemed like the internet consensus was don't call me before 9 on a weekend.
That seems, you know what? That seems like a pretty fair consensus unless you know otherwise. Like I know my next neighbor on that side, like I see them up every weekend. If I look out my window, they're out at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'm up super early. So, so I would feel comfortable reaching out to them at 8 a.m. But most of the other, most people, I think it's a call after 9 is good. I might text by 8.
Yeah, it's interesting because sometimes I make this decision around when to make a business call. So on a weekday, is it acceptable to call by 8 or 9? I feel like that's drifted a little bit. I think when I was coming up in earlier life, it felt like 9 o'clock, anything earlier was kind of considered rude. And I think it's drifted to 8. What do you think?
I would say on a weekday, phone call on a weekday, I'd make a phone call at a little after 8. I think that
I think it depends on if you know the person. If I didn't know the person, I would wait till 9. If I know the person, then I'm assuming that I know that they, what their work pattern might be or their wake pattern.
Yeah.
Is.
Yeah. I think that there's not a hard and fast rule here for the the person you don't know very well, but I think those are reasonably good guidelines.
Yeah.
And it sounds like we agreed for the most part with the internet. There's also your phone has a do not disturb feature. It's built in.
And people argued about that too. Like, well, I need certain people to be able to get through. And then they're like, well, you can do that. You can say these people can call me at any time. Yeah. That kind of thing. So
you can there's a I haven't activated it because I'm old. But there's a way of doing it. I don't care. In the middle of the night my phone buzzes. I ignore it. I don't care.
Yeah.
But if I did care, I would turn on the do not disturb feature and whitelist the people that I want to be able to reach me.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I almost feel like there needs to be, as a new parent, there's so many things for you to figure out. And then when you figure out how to coordinate these relationships, it's like, hello, new parent. Our children seem to be friends. What is your schedule like? What is an acceptable time to contact you by? Do you prefer email or text communication? It's almost like there's kind of like a dating profile or sorts of this kind of relationship.
All right.
You're both looking.
Conversation after this.
I love you, dear, but no.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. I guess it's just my anxiety and the way I think through things.
No, Michael, I had the same thought, Gail, but I just thought I would not confront Michael directly.
Well, yeah. Most things, if I'm going to take someone else's kid to the zoo for the day, the zoo is probably not going to open till 9 or 10. If I get the wild hair to do it, I think I can make an arrangement in the morning at a reasonable time. I'm just going to assume those boundaries are in place. So anyway,
so thank you both very much for another riveting debate and a glimpse into the collective conscience of the internet forums. Remember, morality is often shades of gray and not just black or white or 7 a.m. or 9 a.m.
Oh my gosh. All right, internet. Thank you for the feedback and I guess agreeing with us today. It wasn't so strange after all. But don't text at 7:13.
No, don't do it.
A good idea. But if you do, it shouldn't be the end of the world.
But if you do get a text at 7:13, don't be an asshole about it.
Right.
Like don't do it. But if you get the text, don't be an asshole.
For sure.
Yeah.
Please follow and share Veritas Views on any of the podcast platforms with your neighbors and friends, especially the ones that have friends or kids they're your age, I guess. And always stick around through the credits for whatever the bonus conversation is going to be about today.
You can follow Dr. Dan Kessler at Dr. Dan Kessler and Dr. Gayle MacBride at Dr. G. MacBride. Oh, and you can find them both at veritaspp.com. Credits: Tickling the Ivories, Matthew Reddington. Art, production, and design, bringing this show together with flair and finesse, Michelle Love. Recording and editing, turning chaos into something worth sharing, Michael MacBride. Intro, outro, I'm Kelly Buttrick, a VO talent who just happens to be Dr. MacBride's cousin. Cats, CJ, Linus, Sadie, and Griffin. Hosting by whomever lost the coin flip. Interruptions by all their children. The content of this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional mental health advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Listening to this podcast does not constitute a therapist-client relationship. If you believe you may be experiencing a mental health issue, please seek the assistance of a qualified mental health professional. If you are experiencing a mental health crisis, you can call or text 988 from anywhere in the U.S. to be connected to Crisis Mental Health Services.
Thanks for listening. As promised, here's that bonus conversation.
Yeah, last week I talked about Gladys Quaxa and how she called in well after a lengthy illness, and how that just stuck with me from undergrad. Are there any like sage words or feedback you received at a young age that you were like, or at a young new psychologist age, that like, yeah, I've carried this with me ever since?
There is one voice in my head that, I know, right? That I hear consistently, probably daily. And I don't think this person knows that he is in my head.
You should reach out and tell him. Wouldn't that be kind?
I think I have. I don't remember. I feel like I maybe commented on a Facebook post to let him know that I hear this daily. So when I was in graduate school at the University of Toledo, my major professor was Dr. Wesley Bullock. And he was just a lovely man. We worked at his research lab. I learned a lot from him. Just really a great experience overall. And one of the things that he told me as a clinical supervisee, and I might have been doing the marriage and family practicum with him. And so, I mean, that was kind of his gig, as he taught that modality of work. And I remember him saying to me, be curious. And it was this idea of let your curiosity guide you. Always ask the next question. Don't just accept this answer that plops in front of you and go, okay. Right. And so I hear that in my head just on the daily, just be curious, be just a little bit more curious. And I find that really helps propel conversations with my clients.
I love that. It seems it dovetails into something I've often told people who are struggling with a medical or mental health problem and feeling like they didn't get the proper time from their doctor or therapist to dive into it. And I always say, like, you need to find a doctor or a provider, a medical provider who's curious.
Yeah.
Look at your situation and go, let me think of, I mean, they teach this in training programs as differential diagnosis. Like, what are you start with what all the possibilities are and then whittle it down. Because they know that when medical providers make mistakes, it's often because they went, oh, it's this.
Yeah.
And that process of differential diagnosis is critical. But that means being curious. I've not heard, we haven't shared this before this meeting, but like, no. I very frequently tell people, like, you need to find a doctor or therapist who's curious.
Yes. I find curiosity is an opportunity for connection, make sure that I understand someone's story. But as you're saying, it's also empowering a client or a patient to be curious about themselves, ask questions of their doctor. I think curiosity serves us well all around. So I appreciate that advice from Dr. Wesley Bullock from 20 plus years ago.
Yeah. Michael, take it out.
Yeah, well, and I would say, of course, it's echoed for sure in shows like Ted Lasso, the being curious and not judgmental. Is a great quote from that. But thanks everyone for tuning in. Tune in again next week for a whole other Am I an Asshole debate. We'll see you then.
We love hearing from you, so please review us on Apple, Spotify, or, well, wherever you're listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, please review, like, and follow. Also, give it a share. This helps us reach more listeners.